Hey guys, welcome to this quick introduction guide to React Router 6. The goal of this video is to introduce you to React Router in its latest version and teach you how to use it assuming no prior knowledge regarding React Router. Now React Router is still in alpha version as of this recording, but I'll cover just the basics that are not expected to be changed. If it will change, however, I will annotate this video where changes occur and point those out in the description. Now, doing video tutorials is a new field for me, but I hope this will be as helpful as possible. So without any further ado, let's start up by setting up the environment. So we will initialize our React app using the create React app. The command for that here was npx create react app router 6. I already ran this command and created this project, so I won't run it again. And within the project, we'll add the dependencies for the React router and React router DOM. As you can see, currently we're in version alpha 3. I remind that if there will be any API changes, I will add them on this video. So let's start by setting up basic routes using React Router. Routes are the fundamental concept of React Router, where each route represents a page in an application, or in case we're using React Native, it represents a view. Each route is attached to a URL representing it and the component it should render. So let's start by importing the necessary stuff from React Router. So first we're importing the router. The router is the fundamental component of React Router that we need to wrap the entire application with to provide React Router to the application. Then we will import routes and route. This is all from Great. Now let's create two basic components to be rendered in our routes. So let's create, for example, home, and it should return hi, home. Great. Now let's do another one like this for, let's say, blog. Great. Now let's get to the app itself. We should wrap the entire app with router, as I mentioned. That provides React Router for the entire app, and within it we should create the routes. Now where we create the routes is where the components will be rendered. So if you want to have like an outlet or something to wrap the routes itself, it should be outside of it. So let's say, for example, this title will remain, and beneath it we will create the routes. So routes, and each route in its own component. So the first route will go to the root path, and this will be our home. And the second route will go to blog, and it should render the blog component. Let's save. Now you can see we have the title here, and beneath it rendered immediately just the home, since we are in the root of the app. If we will go to /blog, we will see, hi, I'm in blog. Next, let's create navigation to these routes we just created. To do so, we will build a menu that will include some links to these pages. So let's add a menu here, some basic stuff. with class name of navbar, and it will include two items. One will go to home and the other one will go to blog. And I added some CSS for this navbar, so when I will save, you just see it like that. Now let's add the links themselves. So the links in React Router are operating using the link component provided by the library. So let's import it here, link. Let's see how we can use it. So to use link, we will call the app and give it as a property where to. So for example, this one will go to the root, and we will do the same for blog. Right, let's see how it looks, and it works. But let's look at what it generates. We can see it generates another A tag. And let's say, for example, we do not want this A tag. Let's say we planned for li. So we can pass in for this link component what component it should render into. So let's say as li and as li, and of course then we do not need the wrapping li. And let's see what we got now. And it still works, and if we will look in the inspector, we will see it's just an li. Currently, we don't have any indicator for what page we are in this navbar. So if we are in home or if we are in blog, we can't see any change in the navbar itself to indicate which page we are in. We can fix it by adding an active class to whatever page we are currently in this navbar. So let's first add the appropriate CSS. So for every navbar li with the class active, we'll change the background a bit to, let's say, have a shade of gray. Now, to adding an active class to the current page is common enough pattern that React Router provides a component that does this automatically. So this thing is called NavLink. Now let's use NavLink instead of the link. And you can see the indicators there. And if we inspect the element, we can see the active class added. So how does the NavLink component knows to which element to add the active class? In this case, it's helpful to go down the rabbit hole and look inside the implementation to understand React Router better. So let's go to the implementation of the NavLink component within the React Router codebase. As we can see, the first thing is the properties it gets, and here we have the two which we used to point to the URL or the route we should link to. And we can see here active class name, which is by default active, and since we did not change it, the active class is what added to our elements. Now let's look for the active class name. We can see it appears here, and it's added as in an array to the class name when match is true. Match is true, we added the active class name, otherwise we add null. What is match? Match, we can see here, is use match with the to parameter. So React Router 6 is rewritten with hooks in mind completely. And it uses hooks underneath to reveal the states of the router to the app. These hooks can be used by the user directly as well, and is used internally for things like NavLink. Let's look one step further. What is useMatch does? This is the code for useMatch. Very simple. We can see that it gets the location by useLocation and the resolve location by useResolvedLocation with the 2, which is taking the parameter we pass to the link, in this case, for example, blog, and it resolve it to the URL, and then it compares. Does the current location path name is equal to the resolved location path name? So here we can see another example of using hooks to get the underlying state of the app. In this case, we have the use location, which is not directly related to React Router, but to the app itself, and use resolved location, which uses React Router resolve logic to resolve the location we pass into. So let's use the hooks to add the active class where appropriate. So we go to the link and we will add here class name equals, let's evaluate the use resolved location of the root, because this is the link here. If that, of course, we need the path name as we see in the object here. If that path name is equal to the location path name, then we'll add active, otherwise nothing at all. Now let's do the same for the second link as well. Let's close this, hit save, and of course here, instead of the root, we need the blog, and as you can see, it works. Now, of course, this isn't the recommended way to do it, and it's just for demonstration purposes and using the hooks ourselves. And as you can see, it's not scalable and error prone, since we need to repeat the same location here and again, and it's better to do it just once in a component that wrap the logic, as React Router provides us with NavLink. But this is just to use the hooks and see how to work with them. So we have explored basic routing, navigation, and even hooks using React Router 6 context. Next, I want to dig deeper into more complex forms of routing and the concept of routing provided by React Router. We will explore nested routing, URL parameters, and ranked routing, which is the way React Router 6 decides to which route resolve the current path. So let's say our blog have pages for posts and offers page. And to all those we link through an index page of the blog. So we'll start by changing our blog component to be our blog index component to show these gateways to other paths. Now just note, I keep everything in the same file, but in a real world project, of course, you would want to separate these files to other parts as makes sense. So let's start by changing this blog to, let's call it blog index, and let's return from here. Let's wrap it all with a div. Sorry. A div, and welcome to our blog. Next, let's create the links. So let's use link. It should be an li, and let's say this will go to the authors page. Now let's create links to some posts. Let's say we define our posts by IDs. So this will be post 1, this will be post 2. Of course, in a real world application, you maybe get the posts from an API or something like that. I just want to focus on React Router in this example. So let's see, blog is not defined. That's because we changed it to blog index. Let's get it on the index. Great. So we have the blog and we have the links. Now, if I click on, let's say, authors, you can see the URL changed to /blog/authors. You can see it in the log too. And it shows nothing. The reason it shows nothing is because we haven't defined this path. So let's define it in a nested routing manner. Let's define the nested routing for offers first. So let's go to blog back. Let's clear it here. And in the routes, we need offers to be a child of blog. We want it to be /blog/offers. So this is a nested route. So instead of closing the route here, we'll add a closing like that, and we'll add the nested route here, which go to the path of authors and element, let's call it blog authors. Great. Now let's add a basic component for offers. So blog offers is, let's say the only offer right now is me. Save, and let's go to authors. And we see nothing. The reason we see nothing is, even though we are in /blog/offers, is we didn't tell the app where to render the child route. So in this case, we know where to render this route right in place, but child route passed to blog, and the blog index doesn't know where to render them. So the way we tell React Router where to render child routes is using outlet. So let's import outlet here and use it, let's say after the links, we will use the outlet. Save, and now you can see we have the rendered of the offers. So if we go just to blog, we see just the index, clicking on offers, showing us the offers page. Now we still have the links here, and let's say we want them gone. We want these links to just be on the index page of the blog. So let's change this thing to be called let's say, for example, blog stage, and the links we will take out to blog index. So turn them here, fix that. You know what, let's get this down here. And let's sort out the routing. So the blog itself go to blog stage, and the index now, let's add another route for the index, which is, as always, the slash. It's going to index and blog index. Great. So if we go to blog, which is the index page, we see the links. We go to offers, we just see the offers page now. That's because when we go to the stage, the welcome to our blog is constant, and then we print the outlet. The outlet in the case of just blog is the index in the links, and in case we go to authors is this component, so we see Snir David here. Next, we want to create routes for the posts themselves. So if we go to blog and want to click on post 1 or post 2 and get to a post page showing here. So let's add a route for that. We want to create a route for posts, and we want to pass in the post ID. So in case of 1, it will be 1. In case of 2, it will be 2. The way we do it with the routing is using colon, and let's call it post ID. And whatever is coming after colon is a parameter passed to the component itself. So let's say this will go to blog post, and let's create the component itself. So let's create here blog post, a new component, and turn blog post. Let's see that first this works. So if I click on blog post 1, I see blog post, and I'm in the route blog/blog/1, and in post 2, similar thing. Now I want to use this parameter, this number 2. How do I use it within the component? So for that, React Router provides another hook. This hook is called use params. So let's import it and let's use this hook. This hook is just returning an object with the parameters defined in here. So in this case, we defined post ID. So let's destructure it into post ID here, and with the hooks use params. Now let's log it and see what we get. Sorry, this code is in the wrong place. This should be in blog post. Let's log it out. Post ID. And you can see it immediately logs out 2. Let's go to post 1 and we log out 1. Great. So we can just use it here. Log post with post ID. And great. Post 1 leads to blog post 1. Post 2 leads to blog post 2. Now, in a real world application, of course, you can use the use params and get the post ID and send out an HTTP request or whatever is needed in your app. One last point I want to touch upon is the ranked routing, which is a new concept within React Router 6. Before React Router 6, you had a lot of methods to specify which route is the correct one. I won't touch on this, but in React Router 6, the method is called ranked routing, which is basically trying to match the most specific route every time. So let's say, for example, here in the blog, we have authors and we have post ID. If you go to blog and you click on authors, authors still work. It doesn't pass it as a post ID here. The reason why it does that is because authors is the more specific pathway than post ID, because post ID is just a param. Even if I put post ID before, just to make it clear that it doesn't choose authors because it's first in the list, even if I put it here and I still click on authors, it still works as expected and the posts go here. So think about it like you think about CSS specificity when you set up classes and paths there. So the similar way here, React Router will just use the most specific pathway it can find, and that's called ranked routing. So that's it, guys. I hope this React Router 6 introduction was helpful, and I hope to see you in the next videos or blog posts. Bye bye.